In complex systems, whether it's a corporation, a supply chain, or an ecosystem, a single decision rarely stays isolated. It triggers a cascade of consequences that ripple outward, interacting with other choices, and often producing outcomes far removed from the original intent. This phenomenon, known as decision cascades, explains why a seemingly small or routine action can lead to huge results, both positive and destructive, in large, interconnected networks. Decision cascades operate through three fundamental mechanisms. First is amplification through interdependence. In tightly linked systems, one choice changes the conditions for many others. A minor adjustment in a company's purchasing policy can affect supplier behavior, inventory levels, production schedules, and ultimately, customer delivery times. Each link in the chain responds to the change, often magnifying its impact. Think about the 2010 eruption of the Eyjafjallajökull volcano in Iceland. It grounded air travel across Europe for days. A single volcanic event disrupted global supply chains, delayed shipments, and caused billions in economic losses, all because modern logistics are so deeply interconnected. The second mechanism is path reinforcement and lock-in. Early decisions establish trajectories that become progressively harder to reverse. Once a company commits to a particular technology platform, a supplier ecosystem, or an organizational structure, its next choices tend to reinforce that original path. This creates what's called path dependence. The persistence of the QWERTY keyboard layout, despite more efficient alternatives, perfectly illustrates this principle. Early adoption by typewriter manufacturers created widespread familiarity, which in turn locked in the standard for decades, even long after the original mechanical constraints were gone. Third, there's non-linear feedback and tipping points. In complex networks, small changes can push a system past a critical threshold, triggering rapid, large-scale shifts. Positive feedback loops accelerate the effect, while negative ones can suppress it. The 2008 global financial crisis shows this vividly. The collapse of a relatively small number of subprime mortgage-backed securities triggered margin calls, forced asset sales, and eroded confidence across the entire banking system. This led to a cascade of failures far beyond the initial trigger. These mechanisms appear consistently across different domains. In a corporate setting, a poorly communicated strategic shift at headquarters can cascade downward, causing confusion, resistance, and inconsistent execution across regional offices. In supply chains, a single supplier's production delay can ripple through manufacturing, distribution, and retail, creating shortages and price spikes. And in public policy, small regulatory changes often accumulate quietly until they reach a tipping point, prompting sudden backlash or systemic reform. The implications are profound. Decision-makers frequently underestimate the downstream effects of their choices because the full cascade is invisible at the moment of decision. This creates a persistent gap between what they intended and what actually happens. So, how can organizations and leaders better anticipate and manage these cascades? First, systematically map interdependencies to reveal hidden connections and potential amplification points. Conduct scenario planning and stress tests that simulate cascading failures under realistic conditions. Introduce deliberate buffers, like diversified suppliers, modular designs, or extra capacity, to dampen unintended ripples. And finally, foster cultures that encourage early reporting of emerging issues, so small deviations can be addressed before they escalate into something much bigger. Decision cascades aren't just random chaos. They are the predictable result of interdependence, reinforcement, and nonlinear dynamics in complex systems. Those who recognize these patterns early gain the ability to shape outcomes more effectively, turning potential disruptions into opportunities for resilience and innovation. Have you ever witnessed a seemingly minor decision in your organization trigger unexpected, large-scale consequences? Share your observations in the comments. Thoughtful insights create the most valuable discussions. For clear, systematic analysis of systemic dynamics, decision patterns, and hidden network effects, subscribe to our channel, enable notifications, and explore our related playlists. Thanks for watching.